Oh, what did we talk about? We talked about a few good things. Peter not being here again.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
God, this guy cannot stay out of trouble.
yeah. We'll tell you about that.
Um,
It's rough,
we'll
rough,
tell
rough,
you about
rough.
that soon. We talk about the FBI and them just buying bulk data legally, like I predicted on today's not so critical update.
Just you and me again today, John. We thought maybe we'd have Peter back
Yeah.
this week, but some more bad luck befell him.
What happened?
Well, it's a slightly more complicated this story this time. He was
Okay.
largely recovered from the duck incident
Thank God.
or horse incident. I don't remember which he chose.
Hmm.
And it just so happened that he came across a situation where Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and who was the other one? It was Musk. Oh, and the CEO of TikTok
Yeah.
were tied to a trolley track,
Okay.
and the trolley was headed straight for them. Peter was on the other track, and
My
somebody
God.
pulled the switch to save Zuck,
Then
Musk, and the CEO, and Peter took the hit.
that's
I
crazy.
know.
Is he okay?
He's in the hospital recovering. I can't believe somebody would make that choice as the more ethical option. Certainly would never do that to Peter.
Right. Of course not.
But somebody made that call. So
That's insane.
yeah, hopefully we get Peter back soon. But hopes and wishes and prayers. What's it called? Thoughts and prayers. There we go. Thoughts and prayers
Thoughts, and I hope they put him back together
to Peter while he
properly.
is recovering from this horrible situation. And obviously good to hear that Musk, Zuck, and the TikTok guy are okay.
Of course, they're
So,
completely fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
goes without
Wow.
saying.
Just yeah.
At any rate, today, you presciently predicted, I think, last week that the FBI was buying data. I don't think this is a shock or surprise to anybody, but yeah, you were right. Apparently, Peter owes you a
I don't
pizza.
remember where I predicted this or like mentioned it that like what's stopping. It might have been last week, might have been 2 weeks ago, but I definitely said something along the lines of what's stopping the United States government and their, and its intelligence agencies from just purchasing this data. Fuck, Amazon's got a marketplace for it, so yeah, does it feel good to be right? Sure. Does it feel good to be right about this? No. I don't want the FBI to be buying bulk internet data from private companies. It is absurd to me. Like, but that's the case, I guess. That's the situation. I was right. And
I mean, I'm
uh,
sure this isn't the first time they've bought data.
oh, I'm sure that they've been funneling data like this from who knows how many companies for who knows how many years.
Yeah.
Before the internet, they were purchasing just not like organic analog collected data. Like it makes sense. Why wouldn't they when there are no laws prohibiting them from doing so?
Yeah, they don't even need to go through the trouble of requesting data from the phone company or from a provider. They just buy
Right.
it. That's probably and it's legal. There's no questions. What they report is a little bit unusual in this article from ghacks.net is that what they seem to be buying is just like raw traffic data, not targeted towards anyone specific, and they're really not sure why. They said it's the kind of data that can be used to track down cyber attacks, but they're not. They haven't been at all clear on what exactly it is that they're doing with the data.
Yeah, I could see with that type of data, you could be looking at trends. Um, when when these agencies are when these agencies are like investigating individual or a organized hackers crime org, whatever you want to call it. um they look for so one of the ways to catch criminals online is to correlate data with time, so they could be looking at those types of like macro style trends, just as one example of why you would want to own this data. Is that you can then see like, oh look, they do this on Wednesdays at 3. but on Thursdays they do it at 9, right? Like you can say, well, most in history, like historically, DDoS attacks occurred when they're from Russia. They occurred at 9 a.m. So like you could kind of look at look at different sets of data and compare and try to draw conclusions of what's going on, just as an example of why they would be interested in this um, horde.
Yeah, I think there's one possibility, like you said, is they could look for patterns and try and trace back to where that's coming from. I guess the other thing they could do, though, is this data probably includes the, if we think of it just as like internet traffic log data, it probably includes the IP address of the requester
Originator,
of the
yeah,
traffic, and then it
sure,
includes the whatever it is that they were requesting. So
yeah,
if they had a suspect and were
right,
investigating what they were doing online, one thing they could look at is the forensic analysis of that person's computer in their home. But with this, potentially,
yeah,
they could just say, okay, well, do we happen to know anything about this IP address that we can now look at? So it ends up maybe even just being an additional cache of data that they could compare against, maybe not finding a suspect, but once they have a suspect, doing some additional research.
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I would like to know what else they're buying. Like this is just one case. We have seen, historically speaking, we have seen security and intel agencies of the United States kind of abuse their power or straight up break laws. Like they're not supposed to actually be spying on their own citizens, so they try to get around it by buying bulk data on the market. Not exactly sure how that plays into these laws where don't spy on your own fucking citizens without warrants, but like they do it anyway, so
We're
it's
just
not
doing it.
like,
Or
yeah.
have one of our allies do it for us, or, there's
Right,
lots of solutions
exactly.
here.
Lots of ways to get around the pointless rules that have been created. Um, it does remind me of that bill that they're trying to push with the TikTok ban as a red herring, as a false herring, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it's called. That they basically just want to, they just want to, they want to break the internet in America. We've talked
Yep.
about this.
Yeah.
Um, that that would make this a lot easier, let me tell you, because then they could just say, we're monitoring all traffic all the time. God forbid you try to connect to a VPN.
Yeah. And they can buy health information from mental health apps. They can buy location information about where you're getting healthcare. We talked about the abortion
Hmm.
clinic case, apps selling geolocation data. They can get just buy targeting information from Facebook to find out what groups you're. Well, I guess that's not really how it would work, but the amount of publicly available information that you can buy from data brokers, like why would they bother investigating anyone? just
They could
buy
just
everything
know.
you need.
Very 1984, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I mean, one great example of like anonymity online isn't as surefire as people think is that guy that got arrested, 4chan user that was like saying that someone should kill a sheriff, I think in
I didn't see that.
Florida. Yeah, this was recently in the news. And so a meme usage of like telling people to die is, you at the end you say in game, like go die in game.
Mm-hmm.
So this fucking guy in this 4chan post, he said someone should kill this guy in Minecraft. But like someone's like shoot you, he like did it in like really like gruesome detail, like walk up on him with a gun, etc., etc. And then at the end of the post was like in Minecraft. And then he got raided and arrested. And yeah, like that's not, not exactly a great look. And also it just shows you like they're gonna fucking find you. Like you're
Yep.
not that protected. Which is both, I guess, comforting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I was looking through a Twitter Reddit thread earlier before the show about somebody had asked what's a way to completely anonymously buy a domain.
Yeah.
And if you try and start thinking through that, like there's always some place where you're going to make a mistake. You could use a VPN, you could use a Tor browser, you can use crypto to purchase it. You could use anonymizing services for the domain registration information. I can't even imagine that you could be perfect enough to not leave a single trace behind. There's no way that's possible.
Mhm. And that ties back to the patterns in like macro style data, like macro size data. So if you make the purchase in the active hours of Pacific time to Eastern time, they've now narrowed it down to basically one continent. If you do it Pacific or Eastern, they've narrowed it down to fairly close region. Um, and then the Bitcoin, right? If you're funding Bitcoin, just to run through the scenario of how easy it is to track. Now, if you're using something like Monero, okay, you're good. Most people don't even know what Monero is. They hear Bitcoin, they're like, okay, I'm going to buy five Bitcoin, $5 worth of Bitcoin. So they go and sign up on Coinbase, right? And like, boom, that's it. You've been found. Or they use something like local Bitcoins or Craigslist to pay in cash. Well, that Bitcoin originated from somewhere, and it'll only take a few hops to figure out who the person is that mined it, sold it, and then resold it.
Mhm.
So it's like it is very hard to anonymize yourself in for something like buying a domain. Um, and like you said, like it's just one tiny mistake that you've overlooked. Like, oh, they would never figure that out.
And then
And I
even
don't
after
even
you've
mean,
got it,
yeah,
if you ever visit it, they're going to know where you
right. Are you
visited it
visiting it from
from.
your
Like,
own IP? Like, exactly. Like, that's a great point. It is, you are constantly chasing this, like, not chasing, but like constantly watching and making sure that you're not making a mistake. And only one tiny mistake, like, oh, I wasn't on my VPN, or my VPN failed and I didn't configure it properly, or I'm leaking DNS requests so they can actually see my ISP's DNS is actually the one resolving, like so many different steps
yeah,
that you'd have to take to protect yourself that no one even thinks about.
yeah, pretty rough. And the FBI could just buy all that and
Right.
find you pretty easily. So fun
Yeah.
show. Hope Peter's doing well, and maybe we'll have him back tomorrow. It's not looking good,
Maybe.
but we'll keep our fingers crossed. And any final thoughts, John?
Nope. That's it.
All right,
Another day.
good show. See everyone tomorrow.